Welcome to First People, a podcast presented by Turnstone. This series shares honest conversations with individuals whose experiences, perspectives, and voices shape more inclusive communities. Because first and foremost, we are all people. This podcast continues Turnstone's annual First People campaign, created to elevate disability pride and promote awareness, inclusion, and connection across our communities. These conversations invite all of us to reflect, listen, learn, and grow together.
I'm your host, Jacob. I'm a male in my mid-20s with blonde hair and glasses, and I'm very excited for this conversation that we're going to have today. With me today on this episode is...
I'm Michelle Love. I am a middle-aged woman. I have mid-length brown hair, brown eyes, and I have no visible disabilities.
And I'm Brian Salzel. I'm middle-aged. I have brown hair, brown eyes, and I eventually got hurt in the military.
Today, we're going to be talking about media representation, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and experiences as we dig into this. What kinds of disability representation do you see or not see in media?
Well, I've worked in the marketing and advertising industry since 2007. So I think maybe I just have been more sensitive to the topic and kind of tried to kind of watch the trends and kind of see how things have changed over the years. But, I think maybe in the last 10 years, things have sped up. I think you see a lot more inclusion. I think you see brands that are finally embracing it in a more authentic way. But, it didn't used to be that way. I mean, you look back at, in the 80s, early 80s, you had maybe like only huge brands like McDonald's or Levi's, and you might just see someone in a wheelchair. And I kind of felt like it felt really forced. It didn't feel authentic. And I think it really took the media to kind of be vulnerable, kind of get outside their comfort zone, to have some real conversations, to see some more. But I think when you really dig down, though, it can still sometimes feel superficial. It can still feel like we're only representing certain, disabilities or kind of individuals, and there's a lot of room for growth.
I used to work in education. I was a personal trainer. I was a PO, a do-not PO, and honestly, I would honestly love it more if the educators, the employers would educate more on disabilities, on different disabilities containing cerebral palsy or some type of spinal cord injury and whatnot. And so when I was working in education, the first thing that people will see is it'll take their eyes off of learning whatever, and they would focus on me, what happened, why in a wheelchair. And I think it's important for employers to have disability awareness, to have more communication about different spinal cord injuries, different awarenesses of why people in a wheelchair or of what of certain disabilities, or what they can and can't do, and whatnot. So
Yeah. I know for me, I had a pretty good school experience. There was only a couple times where it was really? There was one time it was fifth grade. We were playing kickball, and I have cerebral palsy. I used a walker up until high school, which is a whole different story. But in fifth grade, I mean, I can't kick, so kickball is not the greatest sport to put me in. But the kids, my classmates, were not the nicest about it, and so the PE teacher sent them inside and like had them write me letters, which was like letters of apology, which was like, I don't know how to I don't think I like process those emotions back in 5th grade, because 5th graders
Mhm.
were
Yeah,
just
sure.
Yeah.
we're I don't know, immature, I guess.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, the media, like representation has gotten better, I would say. As a kid, you didn't have any like representation. And that's why like I've come up with the saying, be a role model, and a role is spelled ROLL.
Oh, that's great.
I even created like a little sticker, which we might have at some point, somewhere. But it's something along those lines. Lately, it's gotten better. Like,
Yeah.
I remember a couple years
Sure.
ago, Arthur, like the kids' cartoon, they actually had a kid in a wheelchair playing wheelchair basketball.
I think I
And
saw
I was
that,
like,
yeah.
that's me. Like,
Yeah.
hey, couple years late, but for my development, but it was very cool to see that they had done that. My favorite show of all time, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It used to be on ABC. It was called Speechless.
No. Sorry.
It's about a family with a kid who has cerebral palsy, who can't speak or walk. He can make like little grunting noises. That's about it. But he uses a laser on his glasses and a board to talk.
Okay.
And they hire it's so funny, but they hire this big black guy with a deep voice to be his voice. And it's so funny. It's a great family show, but yeah. What are your guys' favorite like people with disabilities in media?
I think anytime that it's an authentic
Mhm.
person. So when you see athletes, apparently athletes,
Mhm.
people that they're just being themselves, and when you can be as authentic as possible, to me, I find those to be like the best representations. Maybe you were asking about like someone famous or like on a TV
yeah.
show, but
Yeah.
that was kind of the first thing that came to my mind. Is I feel like those stories always resonate with me,
Mhm.
whether or not me being in advertising or not. I just think, if I'm a mom
Mhm.
or as a woman, I find those to be compelling.
I keep thinking of the show Friday Night Lights,
Mhm.
and the star quarterback, he got injured and became a quad, and so through the whole series, it was like the actual quad, like his hands were
Mhm.
permanent like that, and
They hired a
yeah.
actual.
Oh no,
actual
it wasn't
surgeon.
actual,
Oh, it
but I
wasn't.
mean, he like did his research and
Okay, cool.
did it pretty good. And some of the stuff, like some of the emotions he was talking about, going through, I've experienced the same, and
Mhm.
it was very intriguing to see an able body,
Yeah.
actually talk or feel
Mhm.
that. So, well,
So I'm a big like Marvel nerd, and the newest Daredevil show with I can't remember his first name. It's his last name's Cox, Cox. But he plays a blind character. Daredevil's blind, for those that don't know. But he apparently got an award from like this, like I don't remember what association it was, but it was some blind association that they gave him an award because he was so good at like doing the mannerisms and like not looking people in the eyes, because blind people don't know where
mhm.
someone's eyes are. And so it was very cool to see that kind of representation and seeing that he actually perfected the craft of his acting. So
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of what our goal is too? I
Mhm.
mean, when everybody talks about inclusion or representing people with diversity, I think we all have a sense where we want to fit in, we want to have a place where we belong, we want to feel heard, and understood, and no matter what our abilities are. And when you see that more in the media you're consuming, the movies you're watching, the ads you see on TV, it makes you feel understood. I was kind of reflecting on these topics, and I'm thinking as a mom of 3 too, like I'm trying to raise 3 little humans, I want them to be good and well-rounded. And you can't always put them in situations to where they can understand that uniqueness is valued. But when they see it in the world around them, it exposes them to it. So hopefully they'll have curiosity. They'll ask questions, maybe that made you feel uncomfortable when people would ask you, why are you in a wheelchair? But I want them to be curious. I don't want them to be uncomfortable. And I think sometimes that's where people would feel, because maybe they do have empathy and they want to learn, but you don't always know like how to approach the conversation. So I think when we can see it around us and what we consume, I think it helps.
I can, see what you're talking about, because I've been going to the store and whatnot. I remember a few years ago, I was at a store just going through, and this little girl came up to me, and she was all like, why are you in a wheelchair? And I'm, kids are so honest at that age, I'm like, well, and so explain, oh, I got hurt in the war. I got hurt in the army. I was like, in her time, I was like, I was G.I. Joe and I got hurt. And her dad looked at me and snatched her up all quick and was like, don't talk to him. And I was like, it doesn't, it's not contagious. It's not,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty upset about that. So
yeah. Well, do you think maybe it's because they thought she was offending you? And I think people don't always know how to react in certain situations. And so there's just so much education that has to happen. And like you said, she was just being natural,
exactly,
curious,
yeah.
like kids are. Yeah. Yeah. But as adults, sometimes we make the worst situations.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that's what we found. We found in our industry, as we started to want to approach, diversity and inclusion in the projects that we were doing, we were working with a lot of organizations that serve people with disabilities. So I think we were sensitive to the topic. We were in those conversations, and we had partners like Turnstone that we could turn to and ask questions. So we weren't in maybe those scenarios where we felt someone felt them be uncomfortable. But it takes a lot of that kind of conversation and putting yourself out there and sometimes being vulnerable, especially to do it in an authentic way. Because I think, especially in media and advertising, you don't ever want someone to feel like they're being exploited or they're just there to check a box, because that's never what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that being disabled is one of the largest minorities, or the largest minority in the world, because it doesn't matter about race, ethnicity, religion, gender. Anybody can be disabled at any time. And it's disappointing to me that there's not that much representation in media. And I don't know how to fix it. I'm just one guy. But I think podcasts like this and different media outlets and media just in particular can do wonders.
Yeah. I think we all have to be part of the solution. So I think when you follow and like and buy from brands that are inclusive and are showing people with disabilities, you're supporting that message. I wanted to come prepared today. Sometimes people like, those facts and figures. And I looked up that Nielsen actually reported back in 2021 that while 26% of the American population has a disability, less than 1% is actually represented in any kind of primetime advertising. And so I thought that was, kind of maybe a blow in some ways, because I do feel like we're seeing it more. You look at what Nike's doing, you look at especially a lot of sports brands, you see prosthetics, you see adaptive walkers. I mean, you're seeing it more, but I think that shows that we have a lot of room for growth.
I've honestly thought about shoes, because everybody wears them. But my thing is that I have to wear wide shoes, and a lot of wide shoes are gross. They're so ugly.
yeah.
And I've had to live with that my entire life, because I've always had to wear wide shoes, and I want them to make I don't know how they would do it, but make every shoe also have a wide option. But I don't know how to do that.
I thought they did for some reason.
No, they
A lot of them do. There's
now like it's gotten better, like we've talked about, but
it's sometimes the little things, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but there's a TikToker and he only has one leg. And so he approached some of his favorite shoe brands and he was like, would you give me a discount? Only sell me one shoe. I don't need the other one.
is it the guy that also hid
Had
a
all his
2-liter bottle in
costumes?
his pants too?
Maybe he always wears costumes. Like he
Yeah.
always wears,
it's
yeah,
like
I
the
want-
same
Fireman
guy,
on
yeah.
the pole.
and everything. But that's like a simple question to ask, right?
Do
But I
get
think
half off because I'm not
Yeah.
wearing the other shoe.
I was joking with my buddies. I was like, maybe I should go to Nike and get a running suit and get half off because, my bottom half, I don't,
yeah.
not running. So
In a perfect world, what do you guys think media representation will look like?
I think that like in a perfect world, we wouldn't have stereotypes, right?
Right.
Like everything would just feel normal. I think when you think about advertising, that's because that's where I have my most knowledge. It used to always be about representing what was perfect, what was beautiful. And that's why you didn't see people with disabilities. You didn't see, people, of different skin types, ethnicities, all of that. And so I wish that like people's definition of what beautiful truly was different and that it really was about uniqueness. And that probably takes like a big shift. It takes people wanting to open their eyes, but I think that would be my my ultimate gain.
I think in a perfect world, honestly, like the big companies like, Nike, Adidas, big stores like, Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I think, because a lot of places have like, that they have to do certain things, certain, displays for, races or, ethnic. Honestly, I think they should have, some type of disability, like wheelchair basketball. They should be able to advertise that, like they do regular basketball. Like,
I agree.
The NBA. Why not also have the NWBA? And same thing with, wheelchair lacrosse and, all the other sports. Why not do the same thing?
Yeah, and it could be natural. Like it just come
Exactly,
naturally.
exactly.
That it's not a second
Right.
thought. It's not that we have to go to a special agency to find someone to model that. Like it just is that we're telling authentic stories. We're showing the real people that are using our brands. I mean, I think because you see a real uptick at, around the Olympics, because you've got
Yeah.
The Paralympics.
Oh, you've in the Paralympics and all that. Do you notice that a lot
Yeah.
of advertising, you'll start to see like double cuts of things, or you see that exposure? Well, why should that only happen?
Right, yeah.
Every couple of years, when we have the
and
Olympics.
it might even happen just in July, being Disability Pride Month.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's they put the little check mark. They
Yeah, you
check
just don't
mark
want
it off.
that. You want it to just come natural.
no.
You want it to be authentic.
Yeah. Something like Toyota, which I like their whole initiative there. Seeing people with disabilities there, but also something simple with like Dick's Sporting Goods and stores. It could even be just a amputee mannequin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that'd be so simple, whether it's their arm or their leg, something like that. Thinking about like mannequins in wheelchairs, you'd have to buy the wheelchair, and that's I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
true.
that's kind of expensive.
It's funny you say Toyota, because Toyota actually partners with Wheelchair Basketball Nationals.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, they're doing something right.
huh?
As we wrap up here on this episode, what would you guys recommend for people that want to consume media, any kind of media, for those with disabilities?
I mean, there's good shows out there like, The Doctor, Friday Night Lights, and whatnot. But the actual, like, I haven't seen a show or a movie that, like, actually goes in depth about, somebody who had a spinal cord injury. Like for me, with my spinal cord injury, like, I'm constantly in pain. And then I get spasms and, all this stuff. And I haven't seen a show or a movie that even comes close to expressing.
I mean, I think if you're someone like me that is just trying to learn more and just make sure that, like, I'm exposing myself to different perspectives. I mean, social media is a powerful tool. There are a lot of people that are out there that are trying to have their voice be heard, and they do it in a really compelling way. So find some people on social media that you have a connection with, that you can learn from as they talk about their disabilities, or just, find some of those movies or shows that are authentically portraying people, or even in a way where, like, those people that are portraying that individual really has that disability. It's not somebody trying to act too. So
like Speechless, which I mentioned earlier, but I also didn't mention that the main character, he actually has cerebral palsy. He actually has lived the life that his character is living. One of my favorite pieces of media is actually an anime. It's called Josie the Tiger and the Fish. Weird name for the show, but Josie, she's paraplegic and she needs assistance. And so her grandma or mom hires a guy and they end up falling in love. It's nice little feel good story. But it really, like, gets into how her disability affects her mentally, like depression and being hard on yourself, which I totally get. And a lot of our listeners probably do too, disabled or not disabled. But it's a very good story and I love it. Because disabled people deserve love. And it shows that, and it's very, very good. Thank you, Brian and Michelle, for sharing your stories and lending your voices and lived experiences to this conversation. Your perspective helps shape a more understanding and inclusive world. To keep these conversations going, be sure to follow Turnstone on social media. Share this episode with a friend, or reflect on how you can help create spaces where everyone belongs. This has been First People, a Turnstone podcast. Thanks for listening.